Fortunately, there was just the man for the job. His credits included writing the words of a TV theme tune for another Frenchman that went on to become a worldwide hit.
She may be the face I can't forget, a trace of pleasure or regret.
When I was brought into Les Miserables in January of '85, a lot of work had already been done on it. For 6 months we laboured in my flat in Basil Street.
We were working like dogs because we have been reshaping and rewriting the show until the previews.
I felt very often that I was going to have to disappoint all my collaborators and friends because the work could not be done in that time. The cast was only handed the first act when they gathered together on August the 1st. Some of the key songs had not yet been written. A song like Bring Him Home had not even been conceived when rehearsals began.
When it came to casting the show, the first challenge was to find the star role, Jean Valjean. The directors needed someone with stature, stamina, and the best voice in the West End.
Cole Wilkinson suddenly came into the frame. There was something otherworldly about him. There was a life experience in him.
When the feeling hit me and I had to move along, you said you were right, I guess. You must sing your song. And a man is born to do one thing and I was born to sing.
Trevor Nunn said, we need a guy who looks like a convict, can carry a guy on his shoulders and sing like an angel. And he says, that's Cole Wilkinson.
But he came to see us at the New London where the Cat set was, and the moment he picked up these songs, we knew we'd found our Jean Valjean.
Take a knife for a night, turn your heart into stone. This is all I have lived for. This is all I have
I'd heard about Michael Ball from friends, and I trotted up to Manchester to the Opera House to see him play Frederick in a tour of Pirates of Penzance opposite Bonnie Langford. And went to a matinee, and at the end of the matinee I went back to meet him and said, you've got to come and play Marius.
The first day of rehearsal, Trevor asked if everybody had read the book, and everybody put their hands up except for me. I was sitting next to Michael Ball. He put his hand up, and he was gorgeous as well. I was so gorgeous in those days. And Michael, you still are gorgeous, but you know, he was absolutely so handsome and giggly and little dimples.
I'd had two ambitions when I left drama school. I wanted to work for the RSC. I wanted to be in Coronation Street. While I was doing Pirates in Manchester, I got 2 episodes of Coronation Street. Result. 2 weeks later, I'd got my audition and got into Les Mis at the RSC. So as far as I'm concerned, I was thrilled.
I'd never done a big musical before. I'd done Poppy at the RSC a couple of years before. I'd done Kiss Me Kate in Rep. I'd done a lot of shows that required music and singing. But I'd never done a big musical like this before.
The first week was generally sort of improvisation and games, and we had to be cartoon characters. I played Woody Woodpecker, so I don't know quite what that effect had on my character.
When we got into rehearsal, the first act was pretty much written, except there were 2 or 3 major songs that hadn't been written. On My Own hadn't been written, Stars hadn't been written. In fact, we didn't even know we were going to have a song called Stars at that point. But the second act was almost entirely unwritten. It was really only sketched. And the second act was written in the first 3 weeks of rehearsal.
Everybody knew that it was something very special that we were doing. We knew that there was something there that totally unusual.
After a year's long slog, on the 8th of October 1985, the show finally opened at London's Barbican Centre.
At the end of the day, you're another day older. And that's all you can say for the life of the poor. It's a struggle, it's a war, and there's nothing that anyone's giving. From what they're standing about, what is it for? Money has to be living.
Tonight at London's Barbican Centre, they're already celebrating the opening of an ambitious new musical which seems certain to offer stiff competition to the 12 other musical shows already running in the West End. Joan Bakewell is down there covering the first night celebrations. Joan.
The performance ended over an hour ago and the party is now in full swing. The music is very simple and full of instantly likeable tunes. The audience loved it.
It was tremendous.
I think this is absolutely marvellous theatre.
One of the best we've ever seen. Magnifique.
We had a party afterwards in the Barbican in the atrium there, and I remember myself and Becky and Francis being interviewed by Joan Bakewell. No, I'd never been on telly before. And all of us trying to, be our best received pronunciation, trying to talk sensibly.
What do you think of the merits of the piece?
I think the beauty of it is that it's so unique. I don't think there's anything that you can compare it with.
We love it.
And then we woke up the next morning, and the reviews are awful.
Les Misérables by Victor Hugo is one of those daunting French novels that generally comes in 2 volumes. I've personally had them in the house for 20 years and still haven't read them. But then I've never seen till now any of the attempts that have been made to popularise the book. Well, Tony, have they managed it?
I mean, it gave me a headache, I have to admit. I would have thought it was absolutely impossible to pastiche the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber, if we start there, given that the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber is entirely pastiche.
We are also given an endless sequence of extremely banal lyrics and songs which seem to be specifically arranged not to refer to the drama.
What these lyrics actually manage to do is a kind of all-purpose bland out. I mean, they reduce everything to a kind of sentimental, mawkish gibberish.
The first reviews were very poor. I mean, almost entirely bad. Rather predictably so, because the average drama critic in England then, and pretty much the same now, they don't really like musicals very much.
We read in some dailies, what could be worse than a bad musical? A French musical.
Cameron used to have a lunch after the opening night, and the lunch of Les Misérables after the opening at the Barbican was like attending a funeral.
It was joyless and everybody depressed.
The great Bernie Jacobs, who owns half the theatres in New York at that time, came and he said, "My advice to you, gentlemen, is if you got a stiff, you bury it."
We thought that the critics are so bad that we do the run at the Barbican for 2 months because it was the Barbican and that's it.
Cameron Mackintosh had just 24 hours to decide whether to keep Les Mis alive and transfer it into London's West End. He'd already paid a substantial deposit on the 1,100-seat Palace Theatre.
So I tried to get through to the box office of the Barbican, and to my surprise had to make several attempts, and eventually I got through, and the box office man said, and I said, "What's been happening?" He said, "It's extraordinary. We can't understand it. We've sold 5,000 tickets already. We've never had a rush for tickets in the way that this has happened, and we can't explain it."
Against all the odds, in December 1985, Les Misérables opened at the Palace. It soon became a massive hit and has been selling out in the West End ever since.
It was very hard, other than looking at the box office figures, to work out what your indicator of success might be. And in our case, they were if the ticket touts arrived outside your theatre. The one problem they had, of course, was the problem that everybody had, which is they couldn't pronounce it. I remember walking down the Palace one day and a particularly large burly guy who I'd seen outside Cats many times before was struggling, walked along going, "Lesbian Rebels, get your tickets for Lesbian Rebels," which is, I found myself stopping correcting and trying to pronounce. After all, I said, forget, call it what you like, it's fine.
Hello there, can I go to the O2, please? Thanks. Today, I'm going for my very first rehearsal for these 2 Les Misérables concerts, and it's Saturday and the shows are next Sunday. I did do a couple of days singing rehearsal, and I had one session with Jenny Galloway, who plays Madame Thénardier, and Alfie Boe, who's playing Jean Valjean. But I haven't really had much of a chance to rehearse properly with them. I'm a bit in awe of Jenny. She's sort of famous for never having done the same performance twice. When I met her, she was very quiet and very reserved. And apparently in the rehearsal room, she can be quite quiet. But then when she gets out on that stage, all hell breaks loose. Thank you very much, Mr. Damage.
Matt's first rehearsal is being run by co-directors James Powell and Lawrence Connor, both of whom have previously performed in the show.
Master of the house, quick to catch your eye.
You need quite a lot of stamina and quite a lot of breath to sing this song. And it's very wordy, and I'm always getting the words mixed up.
Everybody's lone companion, here's him everything he's got. Dirty bunch of geezers, Jesus, what a sorry little lot.
Okay, good, good.
Monsieur and Madame Thénardier are the comic relief of the show, and much needed, I have to say, because always depressing, always bleak. I think you're quite grateful when they come on.
Not you, mate, what's going on? Everything all right?
Look,
Right. I'll have 'em. My band of soaks, my den of dissolute.
Well, Matt's got his great Anarchy, which I find really interesting.
A bit of a drunken swagger in.
And he has a slightly completely different take on it, and it's Matt Lucas, so we want to see a little bit of that.
Little girl walks in, pursued by... I found her wandering in the woods, very good, in the woods.
Today, Matt needs to create his version of Thénardier and to rehearse the bargain scene in which he and his greedy wife take money from Jean Valjean in exchange for giving away the orphan Cosette.
You know, this is my girl, and do you know what I mean? Just to really try and...
face into your...
Yeah. I mean, we could...
Semantics.
I've got to link myself with her in order to sort of justify getting all this money.
Beggar at the feast, master of the dance. Life is easy pickings if you grabs your chance. Everywhere you go, law-abiding folk, doing what is decent, but they're mostly broke.
What I think this musical really has, every song has a soaring, rousing melody, the most delightful, catchy tunes. The lyrics are emotive without being sentimental, and intelligent and witty, but without taking you out of the show. And I really don't think any musical has come along in the last 25 years to topple it.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by, when hope was high and life worth living.
I wrote it, of course, for French lyrics. And we used, for the start of the song, what Victor Hugo has written in his book, J'avais rêvé d'une autre vie.
Then I was young and unafraid, and dreams were made and used and wasted. There was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted.
The tragic thing is it's not a song sung by an old person about the dreams of their youth. It's sung by a very young person about the fact that her life is over all too soon.
He slept a summer by my side. He filled my days with endless wonder. He took my childhood in his stride, but he was gone when autumn came.
Bring him home, bring him home, bring him home.
We asked Claude Michel to go away and write a song for Jean Valjean, more specifically to write a song for Colm Wilkinson.
If God had granted me a son, the summer's day one by